My roommate said I'm ruining her relationship because her boyfriend is scared of my dog.
Maybe she needs to look in the mirror.
I, 23 female, have narcolepsy and use a service dog who alerts me before sleep attacks. I've had her for 2 years and she's changed my life. My roommate, 19 female, and I have lived together for 6 months with no issues. And we have an editor's note. Narcolepsy is a chronic neurological disorder that affects the brain's ability to control sleep-wake cycles. By the way, this comes from Celie I. Fox, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. Last week, she told me her boyfriend, 30 male, is moving in. I said okay, but asked that we all sit down to discuss house rules since it's a big change. During that conversation, he said he's uncomfortable with dogs.
Then don't move in.
And wants her crated whenever he's home? I explained she's a service dog, not a pet, and that she needs to be with me to do her job. He said he gets that, but his comfort matters too since he's paying rent.
Dude, you're not paying rent yet. And also, OP should honestly say, well, then I don't want you to move in. Because you're not on a lease. I never agreed to this.
He suggested I could keep her in my bedroom only, but she needs to move freely to alert me wherever I am in the apartment. I said no, this is a medical accommodation, not a negotiation. Now my roommate is saying I'm being inflexible and ruining her relationship because her boyfriend is reconsidering moving in.
Yes, you should.
She said I'm choosing a dog over her happiness and that I'm being selfish since it's her apartment too. My sister thinks I should just try to keep the dog in my room more often to meet them halfway.
No.
I told my roommate either the dog stays as is or I'm moving out. Now she's crying that I'm abandoning her and that she can't afford rent alone. Am I overreacting? Also, make him pay rent then.
He said he was.
We have some relevant comments. Commenter 1, not overreacting. It is illegal to separate you from a service animal. I had to stand my ground against my family for the same reason. Only my dog senses my seizures before they hit. OP says, exactly. No one understands that part. My dog doesn't bother anyone. She barely even barks, and I always look after her. There shouldn't be an issue. Commenter 2 says, is he on the lease? If he's not on the lease, I would not agree to him being put on the lease or moving in. You might want to check your lease agreement and make sure there's nothing about unauthorized long-term stays from people as well. Some leases have clauses like this, and you'll want to make sure you aren't breaking the lease agreement by allowing him to move in. OP said, I didn't want to be a rude roommate and snitch. She's nice, and we have handled everything verbally. If this continues, I will look into my lease. Thanks, I didn't even think of that. Commenter 3. Putting your health and safety is non-negotiable. Perhaps if he meets the dogs and watches how the dog interacts around the space and people, he might be able to understand how the dog will be less concerned with him and more concerned about ensuring you're well informed about your own health. OP responds, when we sat down and talked, he told me he was once attacked by a group of dogs when he was younger. He's been going to therapy recently to help overcome that fear and many other things. And he even cried when he was telling me the story. Regardless, my dog is so sweet, but I don't think letting him around my dog is the best decision anymore. Commenter 4, please don't let him move in. You'll come home one day and your dog will be gone, escaped, while you were out sleeping or whatever. OP says, that's what I'm saying. He's already showed dissatisfaction for my dog. What if he ends up doing something? I just don't want him there anymore. Commenter 5 says, stand your ground, not overreacting. If this guy doesn't move in, it's probably better for you and your roommate. OP says, I agree. I try my best to be a good roommate, but another person in the house seems like a lot to deal with, and we have an update. Am I overreacting for refusing to crate my service dog so my teenage roommate's 30-year-old boyfriend feels comfortable? Part 2. First off, thank you guys for all the comments and advice on my last post. I appreciate everyone who told me to check my lease, stand my ground, and yes, even the people who said to call him a hobo, which I'm definitely not doing, lol. Honestly, I did not expect things to turn out like this. I'll link the previous post in the comments for those interested. So after our fight, my roommate asked if we could all have another talk at the apartment. I agreed, hoping it would ease up the tension since we still had to live together while I figured out my next steps. We sat down in the living room. She immediately apologized for how everything went down and talked about how she'd been doing a lot of thinking about her relationship and living situation. About 5 minutes in, her boyfriend showed up with a bag full of dog treats and a full charcuterie board. He sat down and immediately apologized. He told me that he talked about the entire situation in his therapy session, and it helped him realize how he was being completely unreasonable about the situation. He said he'd been selfish and ignorant about what service animals actually do. He said he would prefer to stay with her because he's in the process of buying a home. He thinks it would take about 3 to 4 months before he can close on the house he wants, and doesn't want to renew his current lease for another full year. Then he says if he still moves in, he wants to pay half my rent and cover all my dog's food going forward.
Dang. Okay. This is going in a very different direction than I thought.
He called it the least I can do for being an a-hole about a disability accommodation.
Okay. I guess.
My roommate nodded and said they discussed it and agreed. They both seemed genuinely sorry. I told him it's something I need to think about. He says he completely understands that he's going to give us our space, and then he left. My roommate and I decided to take the charcuterie board and go on a picnic for the day at a nearby park.
Okay, this was like, I was really expecting this to crash and burn.
Me too.
And now they're having a charcuterie board? Okay.
We both agreed it was best for us to just enjoy our time together, and then I should sleep on it before I make any decisions. She said she wants me to be as comfortable as possible, which honestly made me feel a lot better. The offer is really generous. We're talking like $600 plus a month between the rent and dog expenses. But I keep thinking about whether this will last or if the complaints will start again once he's settled in. My sister, who told me to compromise before, now says I should take the deal because free rent is free rent. But my mom thinks it sounds too good to be true and I should still move out. Am I the a-hole for still being hesitant even after the apology and extremely generous offer?
No.
We have some comments.
I don't think you're overreacting or anything. I think that it's very smart to be cautious.
It's a very quick switch from
super quick,
super against it to I will pay part of your rent.
I'll pay more. I would be wary.
Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why do you have a teenage roommate? OP says, last year of college at off-campus housing.
I don't think that it's that crazy to be like a 23-year-old and 19-year-old living together.
Commenter 2. It does sound too good to be true. Will your dog be safe? OP says, that is the most important question. Commenter 3. Do not take the bait. OP says, I don't want to, but to be honest, it would really help me financially. Commenter 4 says, $2K for being an a-hole seems unlikely. And if the house plan is legit, is your roommate moving out then too? OP says, I think she would finish up her lease here and then move out after, so technically yes. Commenter 5 says, it does sound too good to be true. He probably means it for now, but next month he'll be complaining about it. I'd tell them I appreciate the apology and the offer, but I'd still be moving out. Nothing personal. You just can't expect anybody to follow through on an offer like that. OP says, someone suggested I get a contract. What do you think? Commenter 6 says, not overreacting. Look into getting a contract for it with a time limit on how long he's allowed to stay, etc. OP says, oh my god, exactly. If he's actually getting better and willing not only to pay half of my rent, but also all of my dog's food, and he did say 3 to 4 months only. I'm thinking about putting this in a contract and see if he would actually sign. And we have an update.
Yeah. I think you see if he would sign it, and then if he doesn't, then you move out.
And if he does, then cool, he's obligated now.
Yeah.
He's gotta. Am I overreacting for thinking my roommate's boyfriend is just going to stay over constantly after I said he can't move in? No. Thank you to this community for all the help. I think everything is going back to normal now, but I need advice again. Sorry, my life is so messy right now. Okay, so I slept on it like I said I would, and this morning I asked my roommate if we could talk privately. I told her I really appreciated the apology and the conversation we had, but after thinking about it, I don't feel comfortable with him moving in. I explained that regardless of the money he's offering, I can't live with someone who initially dismissed my medical needs so easily. I need to feel safe in my own home, and I need to know my service dog can do her job without restrictions or tension. And by the way, I need you to know that you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, search up OK Storytime. My roommate actually took it really well. She said she completely understands and that my decision doesn't change anything between us. She told me she really enjoyed our time together yesterday, just talking and eating our charcuterie board, and that she's glad we were able to work everything through. She said he won't be moving in, and that's final. Later, I overheard them talking in her room. From what I could gather, it sounds like he came over last night while I was sleeping. And from their conversation, it seems like he's planning to sleep over again tonight, too.
Okay, well, you can't prevent that.
He can still be allowed to come over.
Yeah.
And like, also, if you're in your room at that point with your service dog sleeping.
I think it would be a little bit unreasonable for you to be like, he can't sleep over.
I think I'd be like, hey, like, I overheard this. You don't need to sneak around.
Yeah.
Like, he can still come over.
Yeah. I think I would specify, like, he's not living here, but sleeping over is different.
Yeah. I'm trying not to jump to conclusions, but I'm a little concerned this is just going to turn into him just staying over constantly instead of officially moving in. Top comments. Commenter 1. Now you go over your lease and talk to your landlord. Time for you to find a new place. Commenter 2. He's just always going to be around, even if he says he isn't living there. I expect that he's slowly going to bring things into a room, one backpack at a time. It's best you move. Commenter 3. You have every right to address your concerns to your roommate. You live there. You're not overreacting at all. If I were you, honestly, I would not feel comfortable with him being there at all. He sounds like a manipulator. I wouldn't take any dog food or treats from him, either for your dog, let alone feed your dog whatever he gifts you. He is trying to weasel his way in to live there and will continue to do so. You both are young, and with him being 30 years old, he will try to control every situation that arises. Your friend should seriously think about the relationship with him. Commenter 4 says, so this dude is still moving in anyway, unofficially? You need to speak to your landlord about him always staying over, wanting to move in, and now back to staying over when you said no. Commenter 5 says, not overreacting. You need to make a final decision and move. This situation is not going to get better, and her boyfriend will be there constantly. Soon, you'll come home and see he's moved all of his things. At this point, you need to tell the landlord a third party is living there while still making arrangements to move. You will not win while your roomie and boyfriend are plotting behind your back. Please move and do not sign another lease or you will regret it. That is the end of that story. I will say I think those comments are jumping
to a lot of conclusions.
Way too quick. Yeah. Because you can still have a conversation first.
Yeah.
Might not be anything.
He stayed over 2 nights.
Right. 2 nights in a row is not crazy.
That's really not crazy. Oh my goodness. My roommate's dog is compromising my health and he still thinks I'm overreacting.
It's time to move out.
I, 31 female, am debilitatingly disabled, living with a roommate, 24 male, in a house with a modest fenced backyard. We have 2 dogs, my Chihuahua, Poppy, 9 male, and his Pit Bull Lab mix, 1.5 female, Haley. I want to make it clear, as this may be found by people who know me or my roomie himself, I truly don't believe anyone is being malicious. We're all trying our best with what we've got. By the way, this comes from throwaway 302919 and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, this is my family home. Inherited from my mother, as is my dog, Poppy. My roommate, let's call him Keith, owns Haley. She was a rescue, literally a rescue from the street exactly a year and 5 months ago. He was driving home at night in the rain, saw a little shadow moving, and found a tiny puppy that immediately ran to his arms. She was skin and bones. You could count her ribs and see her hip bones. We have no idea how she got out there or who abandoned her, but it didn't matter. We had her now. And Keith had always wanted his own dog. For context, Keith and I cohabitate very well. We are both autistic, non-confrontational, and he is truly the best roommate I've ever had, even through all of our struggles. I think he's been living here for about 3 years, maybe 4. He wants to move out and do more with his life than be in our crap hole county, but the economy sucks and he won't find a place cheaper. I don't charge him rent. The rent is just utilities and internet split between us. It's great having him here, and sometimes if I need help up the stairs or if I'm having a seizure, he can come help. But as long as he's here, so is Haley. The previous year, I had volunteered at a local animal shelter. The workers did their best, but I knew how scary it was for the animals and how rough it was for pit bulls and pit bull mixes to get adopted. I couldn't say no to a skeletal puppy found in the rain, and so Haley joined the family. She is a very energetic, playful pup who always just wants your attention and love. But dogs require training. As much as I sometimes let Haley chill on my bag and I'll hug her and scruffle her big ol' ears, I am often terrified of Haley. And so is Poppy. Terrorize may sound harsh, but when she's too playful and energetic, I am legitimately scared and equally scared for Poppy when he's being harassed by her. Haley may still be a puppy, but she's fully grown physically. For context, a couple of my disabilities are Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, and DNES seizures. Non-epileptic, I stay awake during them, but they suck to endure. In short, I am in constant pain. I'm chronically fatigued to the point of pseudo-cataplexy. My body is incredibly weak and fragile, and I always have to be ready to handle a seizure on my own. No, I cannot afford an in-home carer, and yes, I have applied for government assistance more than once, and no, they will not help, hence why I work from home. A huge, playful Pibble puppy is a wonderful dog to have, just not for someone like me. Keith is a hard worker. He works 2 jobs and does freelance work, so he's out of the house most of the time. He does his best with Haley. It's agreed upon for both of us that we are responsible for our own dog's needs. Walks, food, etc. But while I'm home alone with Haley and Poppy, it is inherently my responsibility to make sure they don't get into a fight. Haley just wants to play. She's not a mean dog, but she doesn't know her own strength. She's nearly knocked me over jumping on me. She's bashed my jaw with her skull when my head gets too close to hers. She rushes at me because she's excited to see me, but I get scared. Right before I decided to make this throwaway and write this, I was trying to play with her, and my shoulder was pulled out of its socket in seconds. Because of how loose my tendons are from EDS, it popped back in, but it hurt so much. Sometimes her and Poppy will play just fine. Poppy goes belly up, play sneezing, but it can escalate to squealing if we're not watching or listening closely. Poppy is 9. He's a middle-aged man who likes fun but has his limits. And when he doesn't want to play anymore, Haley can't read the signs. I just had to go break them up as I was writing this sentence. She had him pinned in the corner of the couch. Don't worry, he's fine. My home office is directly connected to the living room where they have their water and toys. I keep the door open to be able to keep an eye out, but I still have work to do. Sometimes I have a seizure and need to take a nap. I can't watch them at all times. Of course, there are plenty of times where Poppy is just chilling with me and when Haley is hanging out in Keith's room. And of course, Haley has a kennel. It's the right size for her, but there's nothing in there. We've had to remove all blankets and pillows from the living room because Haley will chew them up. Obviously, it's something from puppyhood, but it's still a problem. She has no dog bed, at least in her kennel. I think Keith has one for her in his room, but I don't go in there. We're very private people, so when she has to go in there, such as when Keith and I are both out of the house, it's very cold and uncomfortable. I hate putting her in there, but sometimes I just can't handle it. Poppy will just be trying to walk to the water bowl and Haley will pounce on him. She's like 10 times his size and her head is bigger than his body. Remember, this is a pit bull lab mix and a chihuahua. She's just trying to play. The pounce is a play bow, but that doesn't change the fact it is terrifying Poppy and in turn freaking me out. I can only do so much. We're going to pause.
Yeah, I need to pause just to say I do feel like there is some, like I know you're like, I'm not scared of pit bulls.
Yeah,
I think you are still scared of pit bulls.
It does feel like there is some bias.
I think there still is some. Now, I think most of it's just because she's a puppy.
Yes. I think all of it's because she's a puppy.
All of it's because she's, I would agree.
This is exactly how my puppy behaves.
The only other thing I was going to say was their size difference.
Yes.
Can we just put Haley in some obedience training?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I would go to Keith and say, hey, we're having some issues because whenever you're gone, obviously, I have to take care of Haley. And I just am not equipped for that. And because you are not paying rent, can you pay for obedience training?
Very simple, very easy.
Whenever I bring up this to Keith, to my memory, he always just says something like, yeah, well, she's still puppy. Or, yeah, sometimes she has the zoomies. Just take Poppy to another room and let her run in circles in the living room. She's still a puppy, but she's at least 1 year and 5 months old. For a Pibble mix, she's nearly full grown. That crazy puppy energy and lack of boundaries and restraint isn't going to go away. It is going to solidify. Not necessarily if you got training. I mean, it won't go away if you don't train the dog. I've messaged Keith today about this. Part of what I said was, I know you're busy with essentially 3 jobs right now, but please at least look up some training methods that you could practice with her. Great. Then I could maybe also practice, because he is frankly just not doing enough to train these behaviors out of her. And I don't think it's fair for me, the severely disabled woman who's not even the owner of the dog, to spearhead that effort. I do ask him about what commands he uses with her, so communication is consistent, but there's just not enough. His response made me upset. I started my text by telling him how she popped my shoulder out, and the first thing he said was, I mean this in the nicest way possible, but there's no way she dislocated your shoulder. Yes, she did. It's one of the most common afflictions for people with EDS. Then he just asked, was it diagnosed? Like, yes, Keith, the same doctor appointment I was diagnosed with fibro. He avoided talking about training her by just saying not to play with her like that, and to put Haley in her kennel more often. Again, we're both autistic and non-confrontational, and I backed down immediately, reiterating that I know he's got a lot on his plate, and we just switched to talking about needing to pick up garbage bags. I don't know what to do. I'm tired. I'm in pain. I love Haley, but she makes me so anxious. Poppy's a brave boy who still plays with Haley, but ultimately I know he's afraid of her. Am I overreacting? And edit, both dogs have been neutered and spayed, and there is an update.
You need to be confrontational.
Yeah, it sucks, and I know you don't want it, but that's the only answer.
It's not going to solve if one of you doesn't, start talking.
Absolutely. You're just going to get to a point where you're, sick of it, and then you tell them to move out. Or you're going to do nothing and then keep getting hurt, or Poppy's going to get hurt because you don't train your pit bull. And again, pit bulls are lovely, lovely animals if you train them. Any dog can behave badly if you do not train the dog. Because dogs, I mean, unless you're having a little chihuahua, even chihuahuas can be
Chihuahuas
nasty
are little
things
demons.
when they're not trained. And I think oftentimes people are just yeah, whatever, I don't need to train this dog. It'll just kind of figure it out. That's not how dogs work. They're wild animals. They have been domesticated, but you still have to train them. Thank you for the advice so far. It really opened my eyes to how dangerous this actually could be. I talked to Keith about 10 minutes ago. I started by asking if he walks Haley before work, as someone suggested, and he said no. He can't really do it. I started talking about how she needs more exercise and more training, and he basically just evaded everything, saying he didn't know what I wanted from him, and that he's tried things before and they haven't worked. He brought up how when Poppy and Haley are with him, they behave just fine. I reminded him I know he's a very hard worker and that he works 2 jobs. He's out of the house most of the time, if not in bed, where Poppy is with me with the door closed. I'm in my office with the door open directly to the living room all day. He said that she's still a puppy and that she's more lab than pit bull, which may be true, but regardless of her breed, Haley is a dog who doesn't know her own strength and isn't trained. It was really hard, but I brought up how he told me that one day he wants to leave the country. I asked if he would take Haley with him, and he said he'd rehome her. I slowly hinted at talking to my family about that, and his face changed so quickly it unnerved me. He usually has a slightly deadpan deer in headlights look, just part of his flavor of autism. He said, "What?" And he looked at me as if I was considering euthanizing her. Then he just said, "Don't do that," and I dropped it. Being non-confrontational as roommates works great until there's something worth confronting. In the end, he said, "Well, I'll just put her in her kennel when I go to work and take her out when I come home." By the way, when you get home, you should listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime.
I need you to be confrontational again, and I need this man to rehome his dog.
He cannot own this dog. This is unacceptable. Something I didn't mention is that throughout this whole conversation, I had a glove on holding Poppy's collar covered in crap. When I wasn't looking, Haley must have taken a crap and Poppy rolled around in it. We had this whole conversation right after I was done bathing Poppy. I probably would have kept talking to him were it not for wanting to take care of the stinking soiled collar I was holding 2 feet away from me the whole time. Anyway, this compromise is not good. It will only make her more antsy. Her kennel is cold, undecorated, no bed. I'm not going to buy them. She's not my dog. And I could barely afford Poppy a new coat after Haley chewed up his last one. I just told him I hope nothing bad happens. I'll update again if anything significant does. I hope nothing does, though. And that's the end of the story.
Okay, so
Girl,
hopefully
you gotta-
nothing happened.
You gotta work on the confrontation.
Yeah, that's gotta be like a get rid of the
Yeah.
dog, move out, do something. You're getting
Absolutely.
hurt. You can't just keep staying in that.
No.
My roommate refused to clean and blamed me for the mess.
Get out of this house!
I, 29 male, have been living with a longtime friend, 28 male, for a little over a year now. And we had lived together for around 3 years prior with no issue other than with the other people who lived in the house. Now let's get to my current living situation. By the way, this comes from the B Legion, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Carly,
I'm Sophia.
and we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, I told him when we moved in that I was fine with cleaning the apartment once a week, minus his room, of course, as long as he cleaned up after himself, which he agreed with. Almost immediately, he started complaining to our mutual friends that I was cleaning out of spite and began leaving dirty dishes and trash all over the apartment. I had to talk with him again to ensure him that when I said I would clean the apartment every week, it was because I enjoy cleaning, which I very much do. But if he could get better at cleaning up after himself, I would appreciate it. Later that night, he called one of our mutual friends and told him he couldn't live with me, that I am crazy about how clean I want the house, and he all but gave up cleaning up after himself.
Oh my god.
Sophia's like malfunctioning.
I
Right now.
don't even, like, what?
Before he would order food and leave all the trash on the living room table, and dishes would go uncleaned for at least 3 days and would not get put away once cleaned. He would constantly leave his shoes in front of the door instead of picking them up and putting them on the shoe rack less than a foot away. It got so bad after we talked that I told him I would not be re-signing the lease because I couldn't eat without having to clean up after him. For 6 months, he got better, and I decided I would stay and get a dog. Well, after having to talk with him again because he would lock my dog out of my room where his crate was when I wasn't home, he said he did it because my dog didn't like him and his then boyfriend. The puppy had just gotten home a week before. He told me that the dog needed to like him if he was going to live with him. My dog wouldn't leave my room without me for 2 months after the week his boyfriend spent at the house. Now he doesn't care about anything. My roommate will cook, drop stuff on the floor like peppers and onions, and not clean them up. He leaves dirty dishes on the coffee table in the living room. We don't have a table to eat at because my roommate believes it would ruin the flow of the apartment.
Why are we living with this guy?
Today is my cleaning day. The sink is full of dishes from his 2 days off. The dishwasher was run half full, and his shoes are on the floor in front of the closet with the shoe rack. All this dude does is complain that either I want the apartment crazy cleaned constantly, or he complains if I don't clean up after him. I stopped using the dishwasher for a week after the 4th day of him emptying it twice. He left a note that said clean on it, and I could hear him on the phone with his friend complaining that he's had to empty the dishwasher like 3 times this week. So Reddit, am I the bad roommate here? Update, I, 29 male, have posted about my roommate, 28 male, here before, so I'm not going to bring up everything again, but I need to vent about my 2 days off because I'm going to explode. I planned for about a month to clean the carpets. I talked to my roommate Jeff and asked him if he could give me half the cost for the rentals if I did the work, which he agreed to. I told him I'd do his room as well if he took everything off the floor because I knew it would add maybe 20 minutes of work for me. Big whoop. He said he would appreciate that, so I planned on cleaning the apartment and the rugs in one big day of cleaning. I came home Sunday night, the day before I was going to clean the apartment, and the sink was full of dishes. He had dry dishes that were not clean and had been sitting on the drying rack for the entire week. He ran the dishwasher with it being less than half full, so he wouldn't have to finish his dishes or put the dishwasher away because, running it is half the work. The stovetop was covered in dirty pans with a small layer of water trick every lazy butt uses. Now here I am Tuesday night, my last day off, and all I have to do is laundry. But I can't because someone, 100% my roommate, put a load in our building's shared washing machine at 9 a.m. It is currently 8:30 p.m. and they are still in the washing machine.
And that's
dude,
when
move
we put
them!
Yeah, dude.
Why
I
have you
literally
texted this man to move? Like, hey, dude, can you move your clothes? If not, can I move your clothes?
I'm not even texting him. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they were yours. The shared laundry. I'm popping them on the in a basket maybe.
Oh, that's
Sometimes they
true.
have a
It's the
basket in there.
buildings.
Yeah, it's
I
the
thought it was
building.
their units.
No, it's just he is assuming, which they probably are. I'm just popping them on top of the thing.
I don't know if I'm overreacting, but this crap is driving me crazy. I don't know what to do. I, 30 Mail, have posted about my old roommate, 30 Mail, here before. I took the advice some of you gave me and flat out stopped cleaning, except after myself. After a few weeks, I couldn't stand to be in any of the common areas for any amount of time because of either the smell or the mess. So I started secluding myself and my dog to my room until the end of the lease. I had to start keeping my dog in my room because he either fed him a pizza with peppers, onions, garlic, spinach, and lots of cheese, or my dog got a hold of large amount of scraps. Enough to cause his kidneys to start failing! Thankfully, I brought him to the vet the next day because his runs were getting bad very quickly. My roommate kindly even left the mess of cooking the pizza all over the kitchen. But when I told him what the vet told me he ate, my roommate's response was, "That's crazy, I've been ordering takeout all week."
You are a liar.
But he has told all of his friends and our mutual friends that he almost unalived my dog. After 8 long months, my dog and I are finally free!
Yay!
My dog and I need to stay at a friend's for 2 weeks, but after that, my 3-bedroom townhouse for just the 2 of us will be ready for us to move into. I cannot explain how happy I am to not only give my dog free reign again, but he will have free reign over 2 whole floors, with no one throwing a tantrum over some of the dumbest things. Like not knowing how to split the rent in half with one person paying $50 more, a difference of $25 each because math is hard. He made 3 holes in the wall and left for a week because I was trying to explain how he was doing the math wrong, even with a calculator. To everyone still in my old position, stop trying. Let them live in filth. Just clean your stuff and your room. Nothing more, nothing less.
The thing is, I can't do that, though. I have a friend who also was in a situation like this, where her roommates were disgusting, disgusting. And she, stopped cleaning their stuff and would just put literally all of her food. She got, a refrigerator stand, put everything in her room, her dishes and stuff in her room.
I'm assuming he just means until your lease is up and you move out.
Oh, no, absolutely. I physically cannot live like this.
When people come over, it's obvious why the apartment is a mess when one roommate is clean and the other's a disaster. Most importantly, move out! I currently sleep on a leather love seat with my dog, by the way, because he must sleep with me. And honestly, it's worth it to never have to deal with that immature, dumb, inconsiderate, hypocritical, pathological liar anymore. To think we were friends for 16 years, it's just too bad that he's still the same scared 14-year-old kid I used to stick up for when he was constantly getting bullied in school. P.S. I know you saw my post, and I know you see this one. F you! I have done nothing but try to help you literally more than half of your life. I was your best friend because I told you what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to hear. You told me that. Well, this is all I have to say to you now. You will never go anywhere in life. You constantly find excuses as to why something is not your fault, even when it doesn't make sense. Like maintenance going around and unlocking apartments for no reason or notice. You totally didn't just leave the door unlocked like you always do. And by the way, you guys have unlocked full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search up OK Storytime.
You've unlocked it.
You've unlocked it. You've reached the checkpoint. They're all there now.
Yeah. They weren't there before.
But they're there now.
But they're all there now.
All of them. You need to grow up. Even you know it. That's why you quit, 3 jobs? Because your bosses told you the same thing? You have terrible work ethic. That's why you didn't get promoted, and I did. Even though I refused it 4 times so that you could be considered. I even told you what you needed to do to get promoted. But you didn't listen to me. And what happened? I got told there was no chance you were getting it, and I was the only smart option. Look at me. I was promised 2 more times after that in less than a year. You quit and are now working at a temp agency with no chance of growth. Because what? Your feelings got hurt that you aren't good enough? Newsflash, idiot. No one is just born good enough for what they want to do. They work to get better until they are good enough. Hence why I went to college and got my degree, because I wasn't good enough for the life that I wanted, but I became more than good enough. Maybe one day you'll stop digging this hole you're digging yourself into, but by that time it'll be too late. You're 30. It's not goofy, it's just sad. That is the end of that story. And OP, you popped off at the end there. I'm not going to comment on any of that. I think that we just missed a lot of context.
I think so. Yeah. But
glad you're out though.
I'm so glad you're out, and your dog.